Welcome to Strange News. In this show, we'll be taking a look into the news and headlines to pick out curious reports of the strange, the weird, and the mysterious. Anything from UFO news to science advancements, the paranormal, and stuff labeled fringe science and fringe phenomena. Each news item we go over in the show, I will place all the links to them in the description box below once this live show is over, as well as chapters on the timeline index. Hello and welcome to all of my first-time viewers and listeners and everyone watching this live. Before we get started, I would like to mention that on Thursday, for Mysteries with the History, we discussed the recent news in Peru and David Grush's leaked medical records. Today is Friday. You know what that means. Of course, it's strange news, but it's also our gift card giveaway. The base price is 10, and the word of the day is very important because the word of the day is new show or news how, depends on how you read it. Why is that? That's a great question. Because now, on Tuesdays, I'll be doing a brand new show called Tales of the Strange and Unexplained. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be so much fun. The first show will be this upcoming Tuesday. So make sure to put this word in the live chat if and only if you are watching this live in order to enter the gift card giveaway. If you want to make someone's day, put in a super chat that says for the gift card. I will rack that up and we'll do the drawing at the very end of the show. This week's news is I think one of the strangest news weeks we've probably covered. And you can make up your own mind on what you think, but let's go ahead and get started. Please, everyone, put that word in the live chat, hashtag new show. All right, I'm going to take it down and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen of the first image to go ahead and get started. Let's pull this up. Got it. Awesome. And then also, John aside, thank you. Always starting out these shows so strong. Says for the giveaway, hashtag ramen wagon. Working hard. Try to be here. Well, you always work very hard, John aside. And I read in the comments that you need to get a vacation. That's right. You need a vacation, John aside. And everyone, just a day for yourself. Even like a staycation. I'm into those too. So I wrote that down, which is awesome. So let's get into this. Because documentary creator Mark Christopher Lee has proposed that King Charles take action to compel the government to disclose Britain's classified information, known as the X-Files, in order to prepare the nation for the potential encounter with extraterrestrial beings. Lee highlights King Charles' personal fascination with UFOs, a passion he inherited from his late father, Prince Philip, who dedicated 7 decades to their study. Considering King Charles' significant role as the head of the Church of England, Lee asserts that the monarch bears a responsibility to ready the millions of worshippers under his influence for the profound implications of encountering extraterrestrial life. This preparation is deemed essential as the introduction of extraterrestrial beings may introduce novel deities that could potentially challenge human faith. Now, Lee's forthcoming UFO documentary titled God versus Aliens just debuted yesterday on Sky, August 10th. And in a bid to emulate the United States, Lee advocates for the UK to organize public hearings to thoroughly investigate instances of close encounters with UFOs. He said, quote, King Charles has an interest in UFOs handed down to him by his father, the late Prince Philip. I'm calling on our king to put pressure on the Prime Minister to release the truth about what the UK knows about UFOs to the public. They also need to put pressure on the US government and other governments worldwide. This is not just something that affects the US, but it is a worldwide phenomenon. The people of the world deserve to know the truth. And he's absolutely right there. We're living in really exciting times when it comes to the UFO phenomenon. And I feel like that was highlighted pretty well yesterday for the show talking about the news coming out of Peru and these alien attacks. I would like to strongly emphasize this isn't anything new. There was a news report by El Sexto Dia, which is a Spanish news news outlet that spoke about the exact same incident back in 2008. We covered that yesterday. I also just posted a short on that earlier today. Do take a look at it, and the translations are right below because it is in Spanish. But this is something that is fascinating the world. And this topic, everything that's happened in the last year, it's almost a little too coincidental. Things are happening a little bit too perfectly, and people are becoming hesitant. Is this some type of mass hoax? Does it have to do with distraction? Is this all happening for real with potentially maybe good intentions? I think it might be a little bit of all of them. There isn't just one set answer, but it is fantastic that this documentary filmmaker is wanting to place pressure on the king, on the UK government to get UFO hearings, to get investigations, to hopefully declassify what they call the X Files and make it public, because this is a very important conversation that humanity is having right now, in the sense of, and you know what? In the news, I actually do not like hearing this anymore because we're in the year 2023, but it's always with the age-long question, are we alone? And the person always has to say, well, there's no way we can be the only people in the universe, the only intelligent life in the universe. And yes, I agree. I really do. Yes, I've said those things before. But now with doing so much research and watching so many interviews of people talking about this, and I'm like, can you please say anything else? Even just paraphrasing it, but don't say the exact same thing that has been said for I don't even know how many years. But aside from that little pet peeve of mine, and maybe you might feel the same there when you watch certain interviews referring to any news outlet, and they always say those two things. Right now, as of today, it just kind of irks me a little bit. Did it yesterday? No, not as much. But the more I'm hearing it, the more I'm like, please say anything else, anything else. Even just changing up the word just a little bit, and that'll be amazing. But in this case, for this movie, again, this documentary, again, that was just released yesterday, it is talking about this. It is a potentially placing pressure on the government in the UK, which is I think is really cool. Have I seen it? No, not yet. I'd like to. So it is on my wish list of things to watch, my to-do list as well. So, and if you watch it, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the live chat. Also, tag me on Twitter at eyes_on the skies so that I can hear your thoughts on if you like that documentary. Again, it is called, and I'm going to pull that up, God versus Aliens. Very cool. And Bob, thank you so much for the gift card. Amazing. And Terry as well, looking at 30 right there. If you want to make someone's day, put in a super sticker, super chat. It says for the gift card. And the word of the day is hashtag new show. We'll do that drawing at the very end of today's show. Thank you guys. You're all going to make someone's day. Y'all are amazing. But continuing on with this, Reverend Daniel Thompson, a practicing Church of England priest, said the revelation aliens exist could be massive and have profound spiritual implications for all religions. He continues, minds will be blown. Now, the late Prince Philip's interest in ET phenomena was sparked back in 1955 when a bricklayer named Fred Briggs reported a close encounter on the estate of Philip's uncle, Lord Louis Mountbatten. And after witnessing a humanoid figure emerge from a spacecraft during his bicycle commute to work, Briggs experienced disorientation and unease. Now, this lord, the uncle of Prince Philip, said that this really sparked his interest again back in 1955, and ever since then, he had done consistent research afterward. Now, following the account, Prince Philip developed a profound curiosity about ET matters, and he amassed a collection of UFO-related literature, subscribed to relevant news, and engaged an ex-RAF pilot to conduct investigative work on his behalf. That's pretty cool. And I think that information should be made public on exactly what he collected. We need to know. We have a right to know, because with these conversations, it allows us to look at a bigger picture. It helps us also use our imagination to muse about bigger and better things than worrying about paying the bills, worrying about these mundane things that, yes, are important, but it shouldn't swallow up our entire lives to where we're in this constant level of stress and unhappiness and having to fulfill this, I guess, necessity of paying taxes when we have 24 hours in a day where we can do research, get interested, muse about these really big, impressive, amazing mysteries. And the more people that look at these things, the more people that show an interest, that show any form of curiosity, these people, such as you and myself, are asking bigger and better questions to then inspire others. And it's this beautiful domino effect to where those people that ask these amazing questions and maybe have the funding for it, or the equipment, or connections, they can go ahead and do that research and then make that information transparent, where they can have their own form of disclosure. Because at the end of the day, and I say this every day, its disclosure will not come from the government, but it will come from the people like you and me. And it all starts with a little bit of curiosity. And then here we are today, watching these types of shows, having these kinds of conversations, and asking the big questions, right? Right. And Jay, thank you for putting that in the live chat hashtag new show. Mary says, imagination is not investigation. You are absolutely right. I agree with you there. But it is with imagination that leads us into investigations. If we don't ask questions, if we don't even begin to think a few steps forward, we're not going to investigate anything. But you are right. Imagination is not investigation. Yes, I'm with you. Moving on to our next one. This one comes with a video, which is pretty cool. And you can take it or leave it if you think it's real, if you think it's a hoax. Let me know in the live chat. I love hearing what you have to say. Either way, it's a pretty strange story with weird commentary. Let me just put it that. But first, I want to just share this image to give you a little bit of a background. So recently, a policeman named Issam Iqmal caused a stir by sharing a video capturing a ghostly apparition known as Ponti Anak during his night patrol with colleagues. This spine chilling incident unfolded at approximately 2 a.m., adding an air of mystery to the encounter in Indonesia. Now, in the shared video, Ihsan recounts being persistently disturbed by the spirit and having previously heard the unsettling noise commonly associated with this entity. However, it was the first time that the spirit chose to reveal itself in such a tangible form. I'm going to tell you that legend in just a moment, but let's go ahead and share this video first. And again, make up your own mind on what you think. I have the original, and then I went ahead and I placed it in a filter to brighten up the video to add a higher level of exposure because it's very dark. It was filmed at 2 a.m. So let's take a look at this. And that little timeline will go down. Okay, so just as you watch this, let me continue. So this video showcases an eerie figure in a white dress possessing long hair, seemingly floating in midair. This entity emits a sound which is similar to an owl, which makes it a more unsettling tone. In an interview with Harin Metro, Ihsan revealed that he had personally recorded the video using his mobile phone, and having served as a policeman for a remarkable 8 years, he shared his experiences of encountering the disturbing sound that pervades the area during the night and early morning hours. He mentioned that even some senior citizens have reported encountering this mysterious entity. Now, it is worth noting that the area where the incident occurred was originally a palm oil plantation that underwent subsequent development. Why is that kind of important? Well, let's get into the legend. So, this this type of cryptid entity originates in Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. I'm going to play that one more time for you. And I thought I put it in the loop, but it doesn't look like I did. We're just going to play that again. So this, and I know I'm saying it wrong, but I'm going to try again and just sadly butcher it. The Pontianak is a ghost of a pregnant woman who died during childbirth or at the hands of men. She returned from the dead with a vengeance, determined to extract revenge and revenge from men. So in order to do so, this entity transforms into a beautiful woman in order to lure her prey. And once the unsuspected man falls into her trap, she reveals her monstrous form and eats him. Her long fingernails stick in deep to rip out his internal organs, and then she eats him up, leaving behind a bloody scene of horror. Now, during the day, this entity hides in banana leaves, banana trees. Now, is this similar to palm oil and a palm plantation? Kind of, but they're not, obviously not the same. But is that relevant? Depends on who you ask. But she says that she starts her hunt when there is a full moon. She's able to mimic owls and dogs, and there's this smell, this like floral scent that follows her. If the environment becomes unusually quiet and the dogs whine, that means that she's near. And you will then notice a stench of decay and hear cries of infants or feminine laughter. Let me tell you this. The Indonesians, okay, and the Malaysians, they have some of the scariest folklore I have ever come across. Out of all of the countries out there, those two countries, they put everyone to shame. Their legends are mortifying. Now, if you grew up with these kinds of stories and you're casually at work late at night and you see something scary, I'd be peeing my pants right then and there. That'd be wow. I would just be so scared. Like, I don't even have words to explain if that were to be true. Again, growing up with those legends, right? Because you already have a foundation set for you. You already have that fear instilled in you from childhood because of these things. Now, this video, it's horrible quality. Again, it's at 2 a.m. Your phone, not only is it just not great in general, but when it comes to the night, right, it has to take in as much light as it can. That's why it's so pixelized, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to bore you with the details. But again, I went ahead and I tried to create a better exposure to maybe see any kinds of features. I didn't see anything. Could it be a hoax? Yeah, it definitely can. Again, if I was just casually patrolling at night and I see this thing right there, just standing there, yes, maybe my first thoughts would be, is this a joke? And then maybe I would scream at it and say, hey, like, who are you? Whatever, put your hands up in this case for this policeman. But I'm assuming here there was no response. And then there can then be that assumption of, okay, I'm dealing with something really scary here. Now, in this original video, this policeman did end up posting it on TikTok to get other people's opinions on it. But in the original, the audio, it sounds like a weird animal howling. Could that have been edited in? Yes, definitely. I don't see why not. But the thing is that because it is a policeman using his full name, he's putting his job on the line. That if he were to believe this, or if this were a hoax, it would be detrimental to his job, right? You would assume so in this case. And so I think that little detail right there adds a little bit of validity. I wouldn't say a significant amount, but enough to say, I think this person believes that what he saw is this super scary entity that he grew up with as a child, which, hey, look, I'd be pretty scared as well. And Johnny, thank you for that. Hi, Cristina Colores, Chupa 77, Indian Face Scratches 02, and Peru Face Peelers 23 are eerily similar. Are they the same phenomenon? That is a fantastic question. I feel like in some respects we covered that slightly yesterday, because the Colares Brazil incident in 1977 is very, very similar to this one. Now, in that particular case, there were no instances of mutilations per se, but it was more of puncture wounds. Two people did pass away because that they were immersed in some kind of light, which caused this shock in their body, to my understanding. But these other ones that you mentioned, the Indian face, I am not familiar with it. And then the Peru face peelers, as I had mentioned a little bit earlier, the exact same thing happened in 2008, which I shared a short video of that earlier today. And then the link to the full report is in yesterday's show description. So if you do want to watch it, I think it's only like a few minutes long. It's worth a watch for sure. So, getting into our next one, because I'm telling you, it's getting really weird. I am bringing in a little bit of science, as I always do. I love to stay up to date on what's going on in the terms of science. So let's pull this up. And if you are enjoying the articles so far, hit the like button. That lets me know you're enjoying the shows, and it tells YouTube, hey, I want more strange news. And you know what? That's how it should be. So I'm going to put this up here. Yay. Awesome. All right. So physicists have revealed the tantalizing theory that a fifth force of nature could exist and has given a boost thanks to unexpected wobbling by a subatomic particle. Now, according to current understanding, there are four fundamental forces in nature, three of which, the electromagnetic force and the strong and weak nuclear forces. You know what? I need to take a sip of my green tea frap with chocolate chips because we can't make these silly mistakes, right? Also, best drink on the planet. I make it myself, but I copied it from Starbucks. Green tea frap with Java chips. Nothing beats it. I even got John Greenwald Jr. from the Black Vault to enjoy it as well. So here you have your four fundamental forces, which we are seeing on the screen. We have gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces. However, the model does not explain the other known fundamental force of black matter, a strange and mysterious substance thought to make up about 27% of the universe. Now, researchers have said that there could be another fifth fundamental force of nature. Dr. Mitesh Patel from Imperial College London said, "We're talking about a fifth force because we can't necessarily explain the behavior in the experiments with the four we know about. The data comes from experiments at the Fermilab US Particle Accelerator facility, which explored how subatomic particles called muons, similar to electrons but about 200 times heavier, move in a magnetic field. Patel says the muons behave a bit like a child spinning a top in rotating around the axis of the magnetic field. However, as the muons move, they wobble, and the frequency of that wobble could be predicted by the standard model." So, why am I bringing this up? Well, first, we got to keep up to, science, right? That's what we love doing here. But another important thing that I wanted to mention, and again, these links will be in the description box below for you to read into more detail. But the thing is, science is always improving. It's always updating. And the things that we thought we knew for sure in the past seem to be somewhat flexible. Like, we were confident that there were only four fundamental forces. We're like, yes, we know what's up. We're on top of the world. We are super, super smart. And then turns out, well, maybe there's a fifth fundamental force, which makes you question everything else. You get what I'm saying here? And that's why it's important, but it's also strange because our foundation is always shifting, changing like an earthquake. And then cracks happen, and you got to fill in those cracks or allow those cracks to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then have a tree grow out of them, which is brand new piece of knowledge, right? Yes. This is why this is so important and why it's so cool as well. Tucker says, correct. How much we don't know about it yet. And my favorite quote from Aristotle is to know all is to know nothing. When someone starts telling you, I know everything, listen to me, blah, 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 I so quickly just tune that out. Because anyone that claims that they know everything, they are making a joke out of themselves, especially when it comes to the UFO phenomenon. Out of everything, especially the categories of the unexplained, the mysterious, the UFO phenomenon, there is still so many unanswered questions that if you know everything, good for you. But do I buy it? No. No, I don't. But you know what? That is just me here. But Chinooks brings up portals. You know how much I love portals. 10 out of 10. Right next to ramen and cats. And Puck the Puckwudgie, of course, as we're seeing right here. Love it. Paul brings up a pretty good point. I like how you guys think outside of the box, but you also use your knowledge as well. It's so amazing. So awesome. All right, getting into our next one. I don't want to bore you too much with that aspect of science because now when I'm telling you this week was like the strangest news week ever, I am not joking with you. We've done 66 shows. This one tops it off with like the most strange of the week. And this particular article, let me just tell you right off the bat, this particular one had me laughing reading the whole thing. So I'm going to read it to you. It's hilarious. Let's pull this up. Okay. How many of you consider yourself a foodie? Have you ever had like one ingredient in your kitchen and you think to yourself, I really need to use this up, but I don't know how to use it. Let me go online and see what it can be used for. I do this all the time. Like, I feel like every other day, really. Well, a New Zealand supermarket experimenting with using AI to generate meal plans has seen its app produce some unusual dishes, recommending customer recipes for deadly chlorine gas, poison bread sandwiches, and mosquito repellent roast potatoes. Yum. The app, created by supermarket chain Pack and Save, was advertised as a way for customers to creatively use up leftovers during the cost of this living crisis. It asks users to enter in various ingredients in their home and auto generates a meal plan or recipe along with some cheery commentary. It initially drew attention on social media for some unappealing recipes, including an Oreo vegetable stir fry. Delicious. When customers began experimenting with entering a wider range of household shopping list items into the app, however, it began to make even less appealing recommendations. One recipe it dubbed aromatic water mix would create a chlorine gas, and the bot recommends the recipe as the perfect non-alcoholic beverage to quench your thirst and refresh your senses. Served chill and enjoy the refreshing fragrance, it says, but it doesn't note that inhaling chlorine gas can cause lung damage or even death. Now, New Zealand political commentator Liam here posted the recipe to Twitter, prompting other people from New Zealand to experiment and share their results to social media. Recommendations include a bleach fresh breath mocktail, an ant poison and glue sandwich, a bleach infused rice surprise, and menthanol bliss, and a kind of turpentine flavored French toast. It gets funnier, I promise. It gets funnier. Because a spokesman for the supermarket said that they were disappointed to see a small minority have tried to use the tool inappropriately and not for its intended purpose. In a statement, they said that the supermarket would keep fine-tuning the controls of the bot to ensure it was safe and useful, and noted that the bot has terms and conditions stating that the user should be over 18. In a warning notice, to the meal planner, it warns that the recipes are not reviewed by human beings. Huh, what's the issue there? I can't think of one. Can you? And I'm trying to say that as sarcastically as possible because obviously that is like one of the biggest mistakes right there, right? Okay. And that the company does not guarantee that any recipe will be a complete or balanced meal or even suitable for consumption. What a joke. Of course, there was a lot of hubbub online about this. People, again, sharing their recipes, making them as wacky as possible. And of course, you're going to have those trolls out there. But people naturally, at least from my understanding, people are naturally mischievous. They like to make jokes. And this poor spokesman for the supermarket is like, guys, you had one job, just feed yourself with the leftover ingredients that you have in your home, but please don't put bleach as an ingredient, all right? And that's what makes this so funny, like hilarious. And Gary, thank you for that, for the raffle. Spread the wealth. That is so awesome. Looking at 40 right there. The word is hashtag new show because there's going to be a new show on Tuesdays called Tales of the Strange and Unexplained. And David, thank you for that. You are too kind. Perfect. Looking at 50 right there. If you're enjoying the show so far, and if this article made you laugh like me, hit that thumbs up button. Please do. It's just too funny. Getting into our next one. This one is comical in some aspects, kind of sad in others. Let's pull this up right here because a lot of us go to YouTube to fill in those gaps of our knowledge. Where if we need help fixing up a car or making some type of DIY project, we go straight to YouTube so that we can figure those things out, right? Well, two women and a teenage boy were found dead after they ventured into the mountains to live off the grid using only knowledge from YouTube tutorials. I love me a good sort of survival YouTube video. All right. They are awesome. Like Les Shroud, I'm all for it. And sometimes I retain that information and put it in the back of my brain for when I want to live off the grid. But you need to put this stuff into practice before you just go for it, right? Yeah, these people did it. So the partially mummified bodies of a 42-year-old Becky Vance, and her 14-year-old son and her sister Christine, 41, were recently discovered by a hiker at a campsite. And last summer, Becky had convinced her son and her sister to go live off the grid in the wilderness, disconnected from a society that she no longer felt they belonged to. I'm with them on that one. Unfortunately, despite having watched hours of off grid survival videos on YouTube and on TV, they had very little experience in outdoor survival and did not really prepare enough before venturing into the wilderness. When they were discovered, they had not managed to build a shelter other than a tent and had little more than canned food and ramen noodles for supplies. Of course, you cannot live without ramen. I'm with you on that one. But it says here the last time they went camping is when we were kids. Rebecca's sister, Travala Jara, said, "My sister didn't have a button to press for when they wanted to quit. I wish they would have practiced." You can look on YouTube and there's some good survival stuff on there, but reading it, watching it, whatever is totally different from doing it and living the way off the grid. Most of the survivalist tutorials and TV shows Rebecca Vance had apparently become fascinated with, having some sort of panic button that she could press for help might have saved them, but that wasn't the case. Coroners have not been able to determine how the trio of off grid survivalists met their end, but the most likely scenarios are exposure to extremely low temperatures and malnutrition, because you can't live off of ramen. Do I love ramen? Yes, I do. I love it with everything. Can you live off of it? No, you can't. And this is, at the end of the day, the sister that didn't go on the off grid with them says that she hopes that this serves as a lesson for other people to not solely focus on tutorials, thinking that they can just master it and then go for it. So this is a lesson for the world that if you want to go off grid, do a little bit of practice before you go for real. And this is a really, really sad story. There's nothing funny about it, but many are trying to do it now, live off the grid. Why does this story, like, what, in your opinion, what does a story mean to you about society today? And because today I read that suicide stats are increasing terribly now more than ever. They are so extreme. So what does this story mean to you? Because people are weary of society. They want to get away. They want to escape. When you're so infused, and that is the right word to use, when you're so infused with social media, with comments, negative and positive, and comparing ourselves to others, to models, how to be male or female, it doesn't matter. You get these disillusioned people that, and the thing is that they, in these instances, people are losing their jobs, losing their homes, losing loved ones. It's becoming very difficult. This, people are weary of this society, and I do not blame them. If we were to go back to the 1950s, right? People went to work, they came home, they had a meal usually cooked for them, right? Not all the time, but in many cases, there was no social media. People read books. Yes, they read the news on newspapers. People spoke face to face. There was a more personal interaction. There were more mom and pop shops, by the way. People conversed. Things were very passionate, okay? And now we say that we're connected with all this social media, having so many followers, so many friends online, but in reality, we are disconnected from our actual reality. Okay. And we are getting lonelier and lonelier than ever before. And we think that social media just going to fill in those gaps, make us feel better about ourselves. But 9 out of 10, it doesn't. It doesn't. So, this story, it's very sad, but this woman had a real natural fear that many of us do, where we don't feel connected with society anymore. We don't feel that it's safe. So they wanted to get off grid, live in nature. Heck yeah, I'm fully for it. But it all starts off with practice before you go big. In this case, do not go big or go home. Start off small and make your way up. So, did want to share this particular story with you. Getting into our next one, because if you love Spider-Man, you're going to think this story is whack. And when we are dealing with kids and adults and people in our day-to-day life, we cannot lose our compassion. Compassion is important. Attempting to understand other people's suffering is important because every single one of us, me, you, the person next door, the person at the grocery store, we are all having our own struggles. We are all having our own personal dialogue or monologue in our minds of the things that we don't like about what's going on, about ourselves. And sometimes you've got to call someone up that you haven't spoken to for a long time and just check up on them, because we all know someone who we really should catch up with, that we really should reconnect with, and not ask for anything, but just say, hey, Jeffrey, how are you doing? I'm just calling in to check on you and see if everything is okay, or if it's not, share with me what's been happening. People appreciate that. They really do. But a lot of times when the phone rings, it's either a telemarketer or it's someone that wants something from you. Okay? But just a bit of kindness, just a little bit, it goes a long way. It really does. Getting into this next article here. If you love Spider-Man, especially if you were a kid, this one's going to resonate with you. So let's pull this one up, because we're talking about a Black Widow right here. A 8-year-old boy, a Bolivian boy, ended up in the hospital after allowing himself to be bitten by a dangerous black widow spider in order to become his favorite superhero, Spider-Man. This 8-year-old child, whose name has not been revealed by the media, was reportedly playing near a river close to his house when he turned a big rock and discovered a black widow spider without realizing the consequences because he's 8. Okay. He was like, this is going to be so awesome. I'm so excited. And he grabs the spider and he puts it on his hand. He says, "You will bite me. You will do it." And what does the spider do? It bites him. And so he got his wish and he headed back home, but then he began to experience symptoms like body aches and intense muscle spasms. Initially, the boy didn't say anything to his mother about the spider bite, but after 3 hours of agony, he said that he had been bitten by a colorful spider. The concerned mother obviously took her child to healthcare in a neighboring town, and then they ended up going to calling it a medical emergency. The boy's mother did confirm to the doctors that he was a big Spider-Man fan and that she had no idea he could do something so dangerous to actually become like the Marvel superhero. Luckily, after identifying this spider species, doctors were able to give him the proper anti-venom and the boy's condition became stable only 30 minutes later. Kids are very impressionable. We know this. You and I were once kids, and we all want to again, we all want to escape our reality and become something better or go someplace better. In this case, for this little boy living in Bolivia, he wanted to be Spider-Man with super cool powers, depending on which version you watch, right? And just be something bigger and better than himself. Turns out he ended up going to the hospital, and now he has a great story to tell his friends and maybe his kids when he gets older. But has anyone in the chat ever been bitten by a black widow or a brown recluse? Comments in the chat if you have, because it's pretty scary. Spiders, they're pretty freaky. They're freaky little dudes. Garden spiders, you know what? Yeah, they're more chill. Daddy long legs, they're decent. But when we're dealing with like black widows, brown recluses, yeah, those are scary. The scariest ones is like if you ever walk into your attic or in the garage or who knows where, and you just see like this huge baby spider web kind of deal. Ugh. I've only seen videos of when those eggs pop and like millions of baby spiders come out. Makes my skin crawl. It's so scary. It's so scary. But in general, spiders, they're important. We need them for our ecosystem. They're cool, just not when they crawl on you. Or bird-eating spiders that are the size of a turkey plate. Also very scary. I would not want to deal with one of those. Okay. James says, yes, a brown recluse. You've been bitten by one. Oh my gosh. Bill says, I hate spiders. Hey, I feel you. Tuffy says, bit by scorpions many times? Oh my goodness. I don't know how you did it. Several times. Once, okay, but more than once, I die. Yeah, they brown recluses, they definitely like that poison, it just eats up your skin. It's pretty scary. His highness highness says should have used the force. I know, right? Like that requires practice and things like meditation, and you can achieve that, as some say, but don't have a spider bite you and be like Spider-Man. Using the force would be so much cooler. I am with that for you. Doug says a brown recluse bit me. Oof. Oof. No. That is spooky. I feel bad for every single person that has been bitten by a spider or stung by a wasp or a bee. Bless your heart, okay? Because that is real scary. And AJ Raffles, thank you for that. Use the force. Hit the Luke button. I like what you did there. That was very funny. Getting into our next topic here. Wow. Okay. This one is strange. It's also like really disappointing as well. But I told you this week is just extra, extra strange news. So let's pull this one up. Okay, got it. Because an Atlanta man who lost his house after the city tore it down by mistake, okay? By mistake, is now facing a lawsuit to have the entire property foreclosed unless he pays $68,000 in demolition costs. All right. So not only was his house just ripped apart by the state, but also he has to pay money because he didn't pick up his trash. What a mess. What a mess. So Everett Tripodis, I probably said that wrong. Tripodis' property in Atlanta's historic West End is now an empty lot. But until a few months ago, he actually owned a home there, one that the city demolished without so much as a warning. So technically, they did send out letters notifying the owner that the property had been labeled unfit to live in, but they sent them to the wrong address in a totally different zip code, about 1.4 miles away. So this man and his mother had bought this century-old home as an investment and then wanted to begin to remodel it, as many people do, and it's super awesome, super creative, and super smart as well. But they tear this house down, and to make matters worse, the city of Atlanta is now suing the owner of the property and threatening to foreclose on the empty land unless he covers the cost of the demolition of $68,000. So he is going to court. He's trying to figure this out. He's like, this isn't my fault. This is the wrong house to begin with. And he hasn't heard anything back from them. I mean, that day, that month could not have been worse. Luckily, he wasn't living in this house. Could you imagine? Oh my goodness. No, he's just remodeling it. But still, for them to just totally rip it apart and then demand money for it, that is strange. And then for them, on top of all of that, to not mend their mistake, not even to say sorry and like, hey, at least you don't owe $68,000. None of that. We live in a backwards world. Like this is why people are weary of society, because of instances like this in Atlanta, Georgia. Unbelievable. It's just, I mean, it's really like the Twilight Zone here. That's really what it's like. It's just, I have no words. I really just don't even have words here. Yeah, Peace of Mind says $68,000? That's some trash pickup cost. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty scary. Brian, Cristina 2024. That's a presidential vote right there. Why not Puck 2024? Like, amazing. He would do great. Mark says ridiculous. Oh yeah, without a doubt. The Twilight Zone, which is another amazing TV show. Loved it. I grew up on that, and that's how I became interested in everything strange and mysterious. I gotta thank Rod Sterling for that, because man, he was just ahead of his time. All right. And then of course you have Father Ted and the original like 3 seasons of SpongeBob. Those are all just like perfect shows right there and then. Okay. This next one, you got to thank Japan for this. You know, Japan always has the most weird and yet sometimes awesome new inventions, don't they? Along with their food, fully for it. Culture, 9 out of 10. Amazing. But this new invention, I don't know. In a way, I'm kind of digging it. In another way, I'm a bit confused. Let's pull this up. You might think, Cristina, what are we looking at? Listen to this. Because the whole point of stepping into a cafe for a cup of coffee is that it's more comfortable and relaxing than just grabbing a drink from a vending machine or a convenience store. A comfortable seat, a laid back ambiance, go a long way towards making that coffee not just a beverage, but a reason to take a few moments and mentally decompress. That really just depends on who you ask. All right. For me, I like to just be not in a cafe ever. But of course, it would be even more relaxing to just take a nap. I cannot agree more here, which will be one of the options at the Harajuku Nest Cafe in downtown Tokyo later this month, which will be installing some very unusual sleep pods in their cafe. Now you're thinking, how are they going to fit so many sleep pods in a cafe? To lay down takes up a lot of space. Now, what if I were to tell you you won't be laying down? Would you still be interested? Let's share this next image right here because it looks like this on the inside. It's called the giraffe nap, which is a new style of sleep. It's a new sleeping pod that encourages power naps during the day as a way of improving concentration and work efficiency. Because Japan is a notoriously hardworking country that emphasizes extreme dedication to one's work, even at the cost of that person's health or general well being. Working conditions can get so bad that the Japanese language actually has a term for death by overwork, which is karoshi. In order to put up with this kind of grueling schedule and stress, some Japanese workers turn to short power naps. Awesome. And these are known to boost energy levels and concentration as long as the person doesn't get into a deep sleep. In order to make it easier for people to get power naps pretty much anywhere, one company has begun installing vertical sleeping pods called giraffe naps in cafes all over the country because this is a standing sleeping booth, and the company doesn't say why they chose the name, but after doing some more research, the reason to why they picked it is because giraffes are able to sleep while standing and they take power naps standing up. They don't need to lay down. That's why it is called a giraffe nap. But this is why, I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy cool in so many ways. But one of the main reasons is that GiraffeNap pods have a vertical orientation in space, so it's much easier to have them installed in small cafes and restaurants. Now, you might think, why would you want to nap in a cafe? You're literally drinking coffee, and that caffeine should keep you awake. That's why you drink coffee for the majority of people. Right? Well, the logic is for a giraffe nap, they're saying you drink your coffee, then you nap for about 20 minutes. By the time you wake up, that coffee will be fully in your system and you'll be ready to work another 12-hour, 14-hour day. Like, that's the mentality of this, which is kind of interesting, depending on who you ask. And I went ahead and I looked into this cafe, and turns out you actually have to book that session, that like 15-20 minute session to be a part of this sleeping pod after you drink your coffee. And again, it's only 15-20 minutes or so. I couldn't find how much it was to rent one of these pods, but I thought, you know what? Just leave it to Japan to make some new innovative stuff. They're always on the ball and they never disappoint. One of my favorite ones that we covered here, my favorites, was like a beanbag dress where no matter where you are, you can sit comfortably, lay down comfortably because you're literally wearing a beanbag. I looked up if I could buy one and they were all out of stock. And I was very sad about that because I would wear one in a heartbeat. That would be amazing. Unless it's summer and it'd be like super hot. But aside from that, beanbag dresses, thank you, Japan. You know what's up. Into the next piece, because I have two more stories for you, and it just gets from strange to worse here. This one, it's very short. It's a new world record. I love reading new world records. The Guinness World Records is filled with like the strangest things, and it makes me question what was going through this person's mind to casually think, you know what, I should do that. I should make that into a world record. You know what, Christina, that is genius, isn't it? And you have this whole conversation with yourself. Well, this one is weird. Okay, let me show you this image. What are we looking at here? We are looking at this person breaking 273 walnuts with his forehead in 1 minute. Did you hear something wrong with that sentence? Because there should have been a lot of things wrong with that sentence. A man is using his forehead to smash 273 walnuts, which are so hard, okay, with his forehead in 1 minute. That's like, and I'm doing super rough math, as you know, my math is not that great. That's what, like 3 or 4 a second? It's pretty impressive, actually. I don't know how he did that. Well, a martial artist from India recaptured a Guinness World Record from his longtime rival. And I just mentioned to you all those stats. Naveel Kumar, 27, used his forehead to smash the raw common walnut, breaking the record of 254 set by a serial record breaker Mohammed Rashid in 2017. Rashid first held the record with 150 walnuts in 2014 and then broke that record in 2016 with 181 walnuts, and Kumar broke the record in 2017 cracking 217 walnuts. What is going through their mind? Are they even using it at this moment? I mean, that is one way to use your head. Yeah, sure, but is it the smart way? Depends who you ask. The two men went head to head in a Guinness World Record challenge on an Italian TV special later the same year, with Kumar breaking 239 walnuts and Rashid taking the record back with 254. But now he broke it yet again, literally with his forehead, breaking 273 walnuts. Now, for myself, I like pecans a little bit more. They're kind of sweeter, a little bit more moist. Walnuts are very dry, and they have this very bitter taste to them. If you're gonna break if you're gonna break nuts, like make them like something that people would actually eat, like pecans, delicious. Pecan pie, love it. Sometimes it's just super sweet, but so good at the same. Pecan ice cream, oh, with caramel. Oh yeah, that one is really good. But this one, I wanted to place it in the honorable mentions, and I said, you know what? I think I should just read it. It's just wild. Hector bringing in the good jokes, saying knucklehead. Yes. That's a funny one. Steppenwolf says nuts. Definitely. Yes. Well, in another picture, and I wasn't going to share it, in another picture, I mean, his forehead is just covered in blood, obviously, because he broke so many walnuts in 60 seconds. Okay, let me just emphasize that. 273 walnuts in 60 seconds. That's pretty wild if you ask me. And Cosmic, thank you so much for that. I do appreciate it. Okay. I have one final article for you before we do that drawing. The word of the day is hashtag news show, because there will be a news show on Tuesdays called The Tales of the Strange and Unexplained. Okay. So make sure to hit the notification bell so that you do not miss Tuesday's new show at 3 p.m. PST, going to be every single Tuesday. All right. Getting into this last one. Now, this person might look familiar to you because we've spoken about her before, but there's more information that has come forward. Let me share my screen here. If you are a diehard fan of strange news, you know, we covered a story about a woman who married a ghost on Halloween back in 2022. How her experience of how she met this ghost and how this ghost proposed to her. Take it or leave it if you believe it or not. It's just bizarre, but it gets weirder. First, for those that are like, what are you talking about? I have a 60-second clip that I'd like to share with you that gives you a very basic rundown of this person. So let's go ahead and play. Yeah, so it's strange. That's why we're covering it. And you can take it or leave it if you believe it or not, because it's bizarre. There was a wedding conducted again last Halloween during 2022. A lot of churches rejected her because they wouldn't conduct that kind of stuff with a marriage between a person and a ghost. Well, after little less than a year of quote marriage, she filed for divorce. And let me tell you why. Let me just pull up this image again for you to see as I read this to you. Okay, let's pull that up. And you might ask, what could possibly go wrong with a amazing marriage with a Victorian soldier named Eduardo? What could go wrong? Well, what if I were to sorry. What if I were to tell you that this ghost, Eduardo, was cheating on this woman with Marilyn Monroe, the famous, sorry, the famous Marilyn Monroe. Okay. Um, let, let- let me just read this to you. I'm gonna like laugh so hard. Okay. So, and I'm going to be slightly paraphrasing here. There would be moments where Eduardo wouldn't be present, and when he would come back to visit his just newlywed wife, he would smell like Marilyn Monroe's favorite perfume, Chanel number 5. On top of that, she mentioned that during their honeymoon, Eduardo was so drunk that she became really angry. I have a lot of questions after reading that sentence. How can a ghost get drunk? How can do they like materialize their own type of whatever and they drink that? Do they have like real, in this reality kind of drink and they can just drink that? How does that work? Because I've never come across a story like that where ghosts can just drink literally anything. Um, I- there's so many things that are off with this story. Again, take it or leave it, believe her or not. It's not my place to tell you what to do. But it's one that I laughed to. Um, sorry. It's just a crazy story. Divorcing a ghost. There's a first time for everything, isn't there? Definitely is. Yeah, Andrew says, poor woman. Yeah, it's yeah, yeah. All right. Well, those are all of our articles today. I'm gonna put this in the on screen because the word of the day is hashtag new show. It's not news how, it's a new show because Tuesday show, 3 p.m., Tales of the Strange and Unexplained. Okay, hit the notification bell so that you do not miss those shows. We're going back to doing 3 shows a week live, which is always awesome. So put that in the live chat so we can do the drawing for a $50 Starbucks or Amazon gift card. Okay, yeah. Andrew says, keep a straight face, Christina. It's hard. I mean, there are a few stories that okay, back up. I love stories. I love mythology. I love laughing as well. Especially when I'm also nervous. I laugh a lot. So that's like my go-to. That's why I have like crow's feet since the age of like 6. Because laughing it's the medicine that cures everything. And it keeps you young, but it gives you crow's feet. Downfall to that. All right, we have 116 entries, 118. Awesome. If you enjoyed the articles, hit the thumbs up, subscribe as well, so you do not miss any of our 3 shows that we do right here. Ready to do the drawing? I'll give you 6 seconds. Ready? 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Let's see who's gonna win today. Let's see. I'm excited. Dun, 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 dun. No. The laughing priest, Father Barty, from my favorite TV show of all time, Father Ted, an Irish sitcom. Congratulations, you are the winner. And the person that made this account, I'm a diehard fan. I'm a diehard fan right there. So that is so awesome. Congratulations. Please send me an email with your YouTube URL. And if you would prefer a Starbucks or Amazon gift card, and I will get that sent to you as soon as I get that email. Thank you for everyone that watched this live. Thank you for all the super chats, super stickers, Patreon supporters, YouTube members, and of course, all of my amazing moderators. I simply could not do this show without you. Follow me on Twitter at eyes_on the skies for all of my updates and news. Also on Instagram at Strange Paradigms, where I share pictures and short videos. of shows, also of the UAP hearing as well. So you do not want to miss any of that. If you want to continue this conversation, bring it over to the Discord server with 2,000 other like-minded members. Share your thoughts, your experiences, your insights, and more. Barty, thank you for thank you for entering the I'm really lost for words. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm lost for words. But that is it for today's show. I will see all of you on Tuesday. Be safe. And remember, keep your eyes on the skies.